Welcome to The Exchange. I'm Guy Schoen, bringing you the biggest news and interviews from all around the business world. Coming up on the show, we can't afford to wait. That's the warning to business leaders as the UK gears up to host the 26th UN Climate Change Conference with Italy. Well, manufacturing giant Hitachi is a principal partner of COP26. Their European chairman and chief environmental officer joins us on the show. The pressure is on as the UK gets ready to host COP26. Well, the summit hopes to fast-track the goals of the Paris Agreement and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and make significant strides forward. This includes achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and keeping global temperature rises to well below 2 degrees. Well, the event also hopes to achieve protections for communities and natural habitats, at least $100 billion per year in climate finance, and a commitment to working together to get all this done. Well, a principal partner at COP26 is the technology titan Hitachi. Well, their European chairman, Alistair Dormer, joins me now. Alistair, Hitachi is one of the world's biggest companies, sales of over $21 billion in the last quarter alone. Why is it so important to you then to be at COP26?
Because it is effectively a negotiation between governments. But from my perspective, it's so important to be at COP26 as a leading industrial company to engage with those key stakeholders, those key decision makers, to make them aware of Hitachi's capability, because I think we're not very strong about shouting about all of the various technologies that we have in energy and industry and mobility and digital. So it's a great opportunity for us to really engage and try and accelerate this transformation that we all need and we all hope that will be accelerated by COP26.
But boardroom leaders like you are under huge pressure to be bigger, faster and bolder with climate action. Now, I know work has already been done, but what more would you like to see at COP26?
I'd really like to see some more details, some more concrete objectives, milestones and enablers that really engage industry so that we can all work together and achieve this.
Thanks for joining us on the show, Alistair. Well, we've heard from the corporate giants. Let's now hear from another leader attending COP26, the philanthropist and activist Bertrand Piccard. Bertrand, you're no stranger to these sorts of events. What's your advice then to the great and the good converging in Glasgow?
They have to understand that the more national contributions they can give, the more actions they can implement, the more profitable their economy will become. If we stay like in the past, it's going to be a failure. If we can show the advantage that each country can gain in fighting climate change and protecting the environment, COP26 can be a huge success.
Bertrand, thanks for joining us on The Exchange. Well, the road to COP26 has already been mapped out, but the pressure is on for this year's event to finally deliver the concrete actions that push back against the spectre of climate change. Let's speak to Victoria Smith now from Glasgow. Victoria, you're there where it's all happening. Is this going to be the year then when politicians finally turn rhetoric into action?
Yes, Guy. Well, in this building behind me, 190 world leaders will gather to tackle climate change. The president of the talks, Alok Sharma, tells us COP26 must be decisive. He says whether future generations look back with admiration or despair depends entirely on our ability to seize the moment. The talks follow a year of climate catastrophe. In the UK, the transport sector emits more greenhouse gases than any other, and a key COP26 pledge is to speed up the switch to electric vehicles. In Glasgow, electric car charging points use power from the city's lampposts. Another COP26 pledge is to make businesses greener. Glasgow's Beauty Kitchen has a return and refill scheme for its own products and for other businesses.
I think within the beauty industry particularly we are quite lonely, but there's definitely a lot of ground that's being gathered by other businesses. So our second customer to return, refill, repeat is Unilever, which is one of the biggest personal care companies in the world.
But across Europe, environmental pressure groups say not enough is being done. Friends of the Earth says the phasing out of fossil fuels can and must provide new business opportunities.
Our own research has shown that there are 3 times as many jobs in those alternative green energy industries as there currently at risk in oil and gas.
But there's little time to reflect. Scientists say a catastrophe can be avoided, but only if the world acts now. COP26 will need to turn its promises into action.
Well, we saw the protests there. Now let's hear more from those people putting pressure on company bosses to act faster. Jonah Kalgren has more for us now from Berlin.
Well, Guy, climate change is a huge topic here in Germany, especially after the devastating floods over the summer. And there are fairly regular demonstrations here in Berlin and across Germany where mostly young climate activists take to the streets. And I had a chance to speak to some of these young activists to ask them what their message would be, what they would say to a CEO, a business leader, if they had a chance to meet one of them.
Protecting the climate makes economic sense. That's the message.
I expect CEOs who make the big decisions to decarbonise now. You have all the levers to implement change now. It should be done from a common and good perspective.
Well, Guy, as you heard there, the message is pretty clear. Act now. Act as soon as possible. It is in your own self-interest to stop this climate catastrophe.
With activists increasingly looking to the next generation for solutions, I spoke to 94-year-old climate entrepreneur Des Karen, who believes that young people are more powerful than they might realise. And the Kaiser Chiefs singer Ricky Wilson, who's leading a project that helps school children to get creative about tackling climate change.
Working with the kids, you realise there is quite a lot of hope for the future, because you see loads of programs and it's doom and gloom. It's trying to frighten us into making a change. But changes come from wanting to do it for ourselves.
People have all power in their hand if they would just get up, get agile about it. We either have the responsibility to preserve and enhance, at least preserve, the inheritance of a wonderful world that we've inherited.
A hopeful call to action there from one generation to the next. Well, that's all we have time for on this edition of the show. Thank you for watching. Please do check out euronews.com for all your latest business news and join us again next time on The Exchange.